Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our podcast called Social Security Talk. I'm your co-host, Marc Kiner, in my light blue shirt in Blue Ash, which is a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio, joined by my partner, Jim Blair. Jim, are you wearing a dark blue shirt today?
Dark blue knit shirt. All my good shirts are at the cleaners.
And you're located in a suburb of Cincinnati also. Which one?
Yeah, it's called Ross. It's a little north of Cincinnati, so halfway between Cincinnati and Oxford, where Miami University is located.
I don't know, Jim. When I went to your house about a month and a half ago, I kind of thought you were closer to the Indianapolis or Chicago.
Yeah.
I did. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us today. The Social Security Talk podcast is brought to you by the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program. We offer a day of education on Social Security where we cover situational Social Security and how to ask those pesky Social Security questions so clients get more money out of the system. After the training, advisors have an opportunity to take a test. After they pass the test, they will join 2,900 advisors across the country that have earned the National Social Security Advisor Certificate so far. And Jim, in what ways do we offer our education?
Well, there's three different ways. We have live classes, not a lot of them, but we do have live classes where we'll teach the class and you can come, and it's pretty entertaining, I'd say. We also have live webinars. Those are in a couple different formats. Sometimes it's just one day. It's a long day, about 7.5 to 8 hours. Or we'll break it up over 2 days, 4 hours one day and however long it takes the second day. And then we have video on demand. And that one you can take at your leisure. You don't have to do it all at once. Once you sign up for the on demand, you can take your time, go through the process, actually watch, I guess, a couple of times if you have a topic you're a little unsure of. And once you're done with any of those three, then you can get ready to take our test and earn a really spiffy certificate you can hang on your wall.
And if you come to a live in-person class, you have the opportunity to meet the three presenters, Jim and myself, and our good friend Harold. To find out more about the class, three ways to do so. Go to our website, premiernssa.com. That's Nancy Sam Apple. Send me an email, mkiner, Kiner, at mypremierplan.com, or just give me a buzz at 513-218-8505. Now that we got all that stuff out of the way, Jim, let's talk a little bit about Social Security. Can we do that?
Sure.
So, Jim, when you and I have birthdays that range between the 11th and the 20th of each month. So we get paid on the third Wednesdays of each month, right, Jim?
That is
well,
correct.
Except you're special.
Well, I am special. I get paid on Monday, but we can thank my credit union for that. They give me the money when they get it. But technically, payday is Wednesday.
So, Jim, when is the third Wednesday of August?
Third Wednesday of August. It's as late in August as you can get, and it would be the 21st.
Oh, my goodness, Jim. That is way too late for me to get my paycheck. You are right. Well, it's a week from this Wednesday.
Yeah, it can be anywhere from the 15th to the 21st of each month. It depends on when the month begins. If it begins on a Wednesday, if the first day of the month is Wednesday, payday for us would be on the 15th. But like in August of 2024, Thursday was the August 1st. And so it's as late as it can get, August 21st.
I'm starting to kind of accumulate some funds, Jim, to pay my tax liability for 2023. So I'm looking forward to getting my Social Security benefit on the third Wednesday of August. All right, Jim, I thought we were talking about married couples and children, because some of the clients we meet with, we do have to factor in some kids along the way. Is that correct?
That is true. Occasionally, we will talk to someone who has either a minor child under the age of 18. They may be between 18 and 19 and they're still a full-time student in high school, or they may have a child, and this is probably the one we see the most, who became disabled before the age of 22, and they will then be eligible for a benefit from their parents' work record when their parents file for benefits or the parent passes away.
So we have a child. Let's assume, Jim, we have a child, a regular child, and the regular child needs to be single. Am I correct on that?
They all need to be single.
Okay, so a child needs to be single and up to age 18. They will be eligible for a Social Security benefit off of a parent. And once the child reaches 18, then that child needs to be in high school for benefits to continue up to age 19 or when that child is out of high school. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Got it. Okay. So, Jim, when are children eligible for a benefit off of a parent?
Well, the parent either has to file for a retirement or a disability benefit. When they become eligible for those benefits, the child is eligible in the same month. If a parent passes away, then that child, if they meet those requirements we just talked about, would be eligible effective with the month that the parent passed away.
So two ways. One, the parent is receiving a Social Security benefit, or the parent passes away. Then
Yes.
The children are eligible for a parent off of the children eligible for a benefit off the parent's work record. Correct?
Correct.
So how much do kids get? 100% of what a parent was receiving at the time, or what?
There's a term that we use. It's called PIA, primary insurance amount. Just so everybody understands what that is. That is your benefit at your full retirement age. So a child is eligible for 50% of the parent's PIA or full retirement age benefit if the parent is still living. Now, if the parent is deceased, then that child is eligible for 75%.
Got it. So, Jim, let's assume I have a child under the age of 18 and single. If my PIA is $2,000, my child receives $1,000 of that. That's 50% of my PIA. And if I take my benefit early, Jim, so I take a reduction of, let's say, 25 to 30%, my child still receives half of my PIA, correct?
That is correct. You taking benefits early, while it reduces your own benefit, it doesn't reduce your child's benefit.
What if I decide to wait until age 70 and I get all my DRCs, and when I'm age 70, the child is still eligible for a benefit because they're still they're still at age 18 or earlier, let's say. Would my child participate in any of my DRCs?
Well, in that case, no. They still are only eligible for what your benefit would have been had you taken that benefit at your full retirement age.
Got it. So if I take my benefit early, child still gets 50% of my PIA. Even if I wait to age 70, they still get 50% of my PIA. Now, that's a live case, Jim. How about a death case? It must be different if a parent passes away.
Yeah, if the parent passes away, the child's eligible for 75% of the PIA. So it's a little higher percentage because the parent's gone.
Okay. So, Jim, let's say I have 2 kids that are eligible off my work record because they're both under age 18. I've heard there could be a term out there. Harold told me of a term called family maximum. Please explain that.
Yeah, for once, Harold was correct. A family maximum.
Oh, he's not supposed to be correct, Jim.
Well,
anyway,
there's an exception to every rule, right?
Okay.
But the family maximum applies to each PIA. And what it does is it sets the maximum amount of benefits payable off of a record. Now, the number holder, that's the worker who earned the money, whose benefits that the money comes from their record. They always receive their full benefit. but there is a maximum that's received. Generally, it takes 3 people. So if it's a number holder and one child, or a number holder and a spouse, they're both going to get their full amount of their benefit. But if it's a number holder and 2 children, then the children's benefits are going to be reduced for the family maximum. They won't receive the full 50%. Technically, that's what they're entitled to, but their benefit will be reduced for the family maximum.
Got it. So the family maximum, folks, can apply in a live case or a death case. So if I'm taking my benefits and I've got one child, the child will receive 50% of my PIA. If I have 2 kids, then the family maximum will be an issue and they're going to receive less. And Jim, let's throw in a spouse. Let's have a little bit of fun out here. Let's say I'm married. So I have 2 kids and a spouse. Is the family maximum going to be an issue?
That would be an issue. So if there's 3 or more people, whether it's a number holder and 2 others, the number holder, a spouse and a child, a number holder and 2 children, family maximum will apply. In a death case, obviously, the number holder is deceased. So if there's a widow and 2 children or 3 children, then the family max is going to be in effect as well. And another important thing to keep in mind, family maximum doesn't just apply to a specific family unit. It could be multiple households. So if someone has children with an ex-spouse, and those children are eligible for benefits, and they also have children living with them, and they're all going to draw a benefit, they're all going to be subject to the same family maximum. It's based off of that one PIA.
Got it. Jim, I had a follow-up question on that, but I kind of forgot what it was. Okay, yeah, I know what it was. It's not really a question, just a continuation of the discussion. So, I prepared taxes for about 30 years. And one of my clients, Jim, was a young married couple, kind of in their 40s. To me, that's kind of young, maybe high 30s, low 40s. And they had 2 kids. So one day, the dad, the husband, was playing hockey. He enjoyed playing hockey. Anyway, he had a heart problem and he died on the hockey rink on the ice. So he's gone. So the 2 kids received a benefit, but if they received their full benefit. The mom, though, if she would have received what we call the child in care benefit, because she's taking care of a child under the age of 16, and both kids were under age 16, if she had applied for benefits, then the family maximum would have been an issue, right, Jim, limiting the benefits to the kids?
Right. It would have limited benefits to all 3 of them. Instead of them each receiving 75% of their dad's and husband's PIA, it would have been based off of 75%, but it would have been less because of the family maximum.
Total amount would have been the same, split over 3 people versus just two kids. So, unfortunately, at the time this happened, I knew nothing about Social Security because I wasn't in the field. But she got some assistance, so she was in good shape, except for the passing of her husband. So, Jim, let's define a child, please.
Well, a child, rugrats as we call them.
Yeah, let's call them what you should be.
That's right. Of course, it can be a natural child. This is a child of a married couple, natural, legitimate child. And Social Security will assume that the husband, in that case, is the father of the child. But that's not always the case. Sometimes a child is born between a couple who aren't married. And in that case, then it's a little more difficult. Child's still eligible for benefits. Payments the same. Requirements are the same. But it does require that the father has some sort of acknowledgement of the child. Now, usually this isn't a problem. If he carried the child on his health insurance at work, it could be that if you can show with even a birthday card, you can show who it's to and who it's from. And it indicates this is to my son, my daughter, and that would work. It could be that the court said you're the parent, or the court ordered the person to pay child support, or maybe he went on the Maury show. Who knows? But, generally that's not much of an issue. It comes into play more often when the parent dies before the child is born. And there just hasn't been much opportunity for acknowledgement. And so, fortunately, DNA is accepted by Social Security. So you can prove that child is the child of the deceased in that issue. There are adopted children. So if someone is adopted, the child is eligible off of their work record. There are in some cases, step parents. And if you can show the step parent has provided at least one half of the child's support for 12 months or longer, then the stepchild can draw benefits off of the step parent's work record. Now, they are going to look at the income from the custodial parent and the non-custodial parent. They'll count child support, any money that the non-custodial parent may provide, or any money that the custodial mom or dad earns will count. But if you can show the step parent is providing more, one half support or more, the child can be eligible on their work record. And then we hear oftentimes grandparents have their grandchildren and they're raising them. If they adopt their grandchildren, that's the same as an adopted child, and the child is eligible. A lot of times, though, the grandparents haven't adopted the grandchild, but they're legal guardianship. They have legal guardian of the children. And so in that situation, rules are a little tough. The legal guardianship had to have occurred before the grandparents started their Social Security benefits, and both natural parents of the child either have to be deceased or disabled. And if one of those doesn't apply, then benefits aren't payable in that situation. So you don't see it a lot, but it's out there. People need to be aware of it. And so if benefits can be payable, then they will be. But that's generally the categories of children where Social Security will pay benefits.
Jim, are kids subject to the annual earnings test?
Yeah, if you can get your child to work, your 16-year-old to get a job and earn over $22,320, they're going to be subject to the earnings test. Congratulations on getting them a nice paying job, but that will affect their Social Security benefits. So children, yes, they are subject to the earnings test.
So Jim, let's talk about some options that married couples tend to utilize when it comes to situations where they might have some children. So let's say we have a married couple, husband and wife, and the kids are under the age of 18 and are single. Many times the mom may take her benefits at her age 62. This will allow, let's assume there's one child involved for now. This will allow the one child to also receive a child's benefit. So the mom begins her benefits and the child receives a child's benefit off of her work record. So the child receives 50% of her PIA. Of course, though, she must be at least age 62. We do know that. And of course, if she's working and making a whole buttload of money, then the earnings test will negate and offset any benefits she's eligible for. And Jim, we all know that if the mom is not receiving a benefit due to the earnings test, the child will not receive a benefit off of her work record. So the mom begins her benefits. This way, a children's benefits payable to the child. Now, down the road, the dad begins his benefits. Let's just assume for now that his benefit is higher. Now the children might be eligible for a higher benefit off the dad's work record. Of course, though, by the time he applies, it's possible the kids may already have aged out. Is that true, Jim?
That's true, but if it's a disability case and the child's disabled, then in this case, the father applies, the child would get the benefit based off of his work record instead of mom's. He remains technically entitled to mom, and especially in a disability case, that's important because Medicare is a factor for disabled individuals, and you have to have received a Social Security benefit for 24 months before Medicare kicks in. So the child was on mom's record, met the 24 months, became eligible for Medicare. Now they switched to dad's record because they remain technically entitled on mom's record, even though the payment comes from dad. That 24-month period remains active and they don't lose their Medicare. They don't have to start their 24 months all over again, and they're able to remain on Medicare.
How do you apply for a children's benefit, Jim? Can you do that online?
Yeah, unfortunately, that cannot be done online. You have to call the Social Security Administration, 800-772-1213, and you make an appointment at your local office. The appointment can be done over the phone if you don't want to go into the office, but if you prefer dealing with people face to face, you can make an in-office appointment.
Now, the benefits not payable to the parent does not get those benefits, Jim. Who does get those benefits?
Well, if the child is under age 18, then it goes to a representative payee. That might be the parent whose record the benefits are being paid off of. It could be the other spouse. It's normally paid to whoever the child lives with because they have the most knowledge of that individual's needs. And they receive the benefit for the child. It's their responsibility to spend the money on that child's behalf. Social Security wants to know, are their needs being met? Food, clothing, and shelter, is that all being taken care of? If it is, all sorts of things you can do with it. You can't buy them a new Corvette and drive it around saying, well, I use it to take them to the doctor. But technically, you could buy them a car. But you could, school fees, school tuition, all sorts of things. And you could buy them just normal things that they need. Some folks, though, because they take care of their children anyway, and their needs are being met, mom and dad take the money and put it away in an account and save it for a college fund. And that's fine. Now, what's going to happen is when they turn 18, Social Security is going to say, do you have any money put aside for that child? And if so, we want it back. And then we're going to reissue it to the child because they're now 18, they're considered an adult. If it's in an account that you're going to lose money if you pull it out of, generally speaking, if you contact the local office and say, the child says, I want to leave the money there, then Social Security will be okay with that. They just want to make sure that the child is actually going to get the advantage of the money.
I think, Jim, over a year's time period, we receive a question from one of our advisors on that exact issue. The client received a letter about about money. What do they do with it? Is it in an account, so forth and so on? And, you basically provide the standard answer to that, right?
Yeah. And as far as representative payees go, usually yearly Social Security is going to make you account for the funds. They'll say, we paid you this amount of money for this child. What'd you do with it? Show us where. So you want to save your receipts, that kind of thing. Or if you put it in the bank, just hang on to your bank account. But if it's a parent, they don't always do it every year because they assume, well, the child's living with the parent, the needs are being taken care of. So unless something comes to their attention, they don't look at that yearly. But if it's someone other than a parent, they're going to keep a pretty good eye on it.
Well, Jim, I think this discussion was very stimulating and very informative to our listeners about children. I know it doesn't come up often, there's no doubt. Over the last year, Jim, how many clients have you met with that had children?
Not a whole lot, probably 5 or 6 at the most. Okay. But and usually it's because the child's disabled.
Mm-hmm. But even though...
Go ahead.
But even though maybe, Jim, you have not talked to a lot of couples that have kids, or clients talk to couples all the time that have kids, and they ask us lots of questions, right?
Oh, yeah. And, it's something that folks want to think about. Maybe I want to wait till 70 to take my Social Security benefit, but if I do, my child won't draw anything off of me. So maybe instead of waiting till 70, it's to my advantage to file at my full retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way I get a benefit, so does my child. Or sometimes that's age 62 as well. Depends if you're still working. Other things factor in, but it may mean that you take your benefits sooner than you were thinking about. Not always, but it's something to consider.
And finally, Jim, let's say a child is collecting off of a dad, and then the child ages out, and let's say the dad is 66, 67, whatever. He's at full retirement age or older. He can voluntarily suspend his benefits, Jim, so he could earn some delayed retirement credits and get more money up to age 70. Is that right?
Right. If he wasn't needing the money to live off of,
Mm-hmm.
took the benefits so the child could receive it. Now the child no longer receives it,
That's
and they're
right.
full retirement age or older. Sure, you could do the voluntary suspension and earn that 8% a year increase up to age 70.
And you don't pay your benefits back. It's
No,
not
not in
like
that situation.
not like the do-over. Well, Jim, thank you for this stimulating discussion on children's benefits. So you've been listening to the Social Security Talk podcast with the hosts Marc Kiner and Jim Blair. Our podcast is sponsored by the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program. We educate advisors across the country on situational Social Security and those pesky Social Security questions that will uncover additional benefits for clients. After advisors take our training, they can then take the test. And after passing the test, that's when they earn the certificate. Like Jim said earlier, we offer our certificate training 3 ways: live in person. So if you're going to be in Kansas City at the end of August, or in Cincinnati in the beginning of September, or next year, Jim, we have classes next year in Orlando. This is 2025. Orlando, Charlotte, Philadelphia, Chicago, Cincinnati,
Did you say Phoenix?
and Phoenix. I didn't say it, but I just did. So we have classes in 6 states and cities next year. So we'd love to see you at one of our upcoming in-person classes. So we offer our classes 3 ways: in person, live webinars, and taped on-demand videos. So, Jim, any final comments you'd like to make before we say over and out for the day?
Well, one nice thing we do for our advisors who take our class, we don't just forget about you after the class is over. We provide what we like to call the gold standard of support. You have access to us. You can call us, email us with questions. And so once you become part of the family, you're part of the family.
And then you have to pay us back. We're not going to lend you money, right, Jim? As a part of the family, we don't lend money out.
That's right. Never lend money to family members.
Thank you, folks. You've been listening to this Situational Social Security podcast. And be ready for the next podcast that we will record sometime in September. Thank you, everybody. Over and out. Bye.
Goodbye.